All right. What is up for three people in here? If you're reading the chat over there, I'm limping tonight, so my computer monitor here is broke. I can't see anything here, so what I'm having to do is read off of my phone and try to get to follow along here. So, my name's Ryan. This is Kingsman Report. It's the news everyone ignores, and today is February the 25th, 2020. As you can see with your thumbnail there, I'm going to cover a few things. Some of these I posted on social media, some of them I didn't. Amazon opens their first cashless store, and then you have Pentagon nuclear moon rocket. I also have an article that I'm going to start off with that Reefer sent over here that I found very interesting. So bear with me. I'm going to try to make it through this. I don't know how it's going to go, so we'll see. I have to do two things at once here. All right. So, the first article here is patent secured for revolutionary nuclear fusion technology. And this is the article that Reefer sent to me over in the chat before we got started today. So I'm going to read through this. So it says, scientists in Australia are making some astonishing claims about the new nuclear reactor technology. Startup HB11, which spun out of the University of New South Wales, has applied and received patents in the US, Japan, and China. So far, the company's technology uses lasers to trigger a nuclear fusion reaction in hydrogen and boron purposely with no radioactive fuel required. says the secret is cutting edge laser and, well, an element of luck. The laser doesn't heat the material. Instead, it speeds up the hydrogen to make the hydrogen to the point where it hopefully collides with the boron to begin a reaction. You could say we're using the hydrogen as a dart and hoping to hit a boron. And if we hit one, we can start a fusion reaction. Managing Director Warren McKenzie told New Atlas. He says HB11's approach to, quote, more precise than designs that use heat to approach fusion, because in those reactors everything is heated in the hope that something will collide. This is going to be ridiculously hard. Goes on to say, when the lucky hydrogen does fuse with a boron particle, the reaction throws off helium and atoms whose lack of electrons means they are positively charged. It's this charge that the device gathers as electricity. The overall idea was to developed by UNSW. The professor Henry Hora, who says in a statement he's been, quote, investigating a laser boron fusion approach over 4 decades at UNSW. So the pictures there, you can see more of it there, but Reefer posted the article already in the chat, so I thought this was very interesting. All right, so this next article here is Pentagon preps nuclear moon rocket. It says the Pentagon wants to extend the reach of its satellites tens of thousands of miles towards the moon, and it's working on high-tech atomic-powered nuclear thermal propulsion engine to make it possible. The military's goal is to deploy maneuverable satellites into the vast space between the Earth and the moon. Cislunar space is it's called, before China gets there with their own spacecraft. But this isn't the first time the U.S. government has tried to develop an atomic rocket, and there's no guarantee that the same problems that ended previous efforts won't also scuttle this one. The capability afforded by nuclear thermal propulsion will expand the operating presence of the U.S. in space to the cislunar volume and enhance domestic operations to a new high ground. This is the danger of being defined by an adversary in the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, which oversees the atomic rocket effort, explained in a budget proposal. The U.S. and Chinese space agencies, even private corporations, are eager to mine the moon for minerals that could support deep space missions, potentially including humans' first trip to Mars. It goes on to say, an agile nuclear thermal propulsion vehicle enables the Defense Department to maintain space domain awareness of a burgeoning activity within the vast volume. Jared Adams, a DARPA spokesperson, told the Daily Beast. DARPA's budget request for 2011, which the agency released in early February, asked for $21 million for the demonstration rocket for Agile Cislunar Operations Program, or DRACO. It's crazy they're calling it DRACO. If you guys don't know what DRACO means, you should definitely check it out. I think you're the only one in here, Reefer. So anyways, it says Congress gave DARPA $10 million in 2020. Congress gave DARPA $10 million in 2020 to start studying the Draco engine. The 2011 budget would allow the agency to start building components. The plan is for DARPA to test Draco before handing it over to the Air Force for routine operations. The Military Nuclear Thermal Propulsion Project is a virtual twin of similar NASA programs that's a couple of years older. Draco is what experts call a, quote, highly, say, low-enriched uranium nuclear thermal propulsion system. Basically, it's a small nuclear reactor atop a space rocket, and the reactor heats up a propellant, hydrogen, for example, that accelerates through a nozzle pushing the satellite in the opposite direction. Nuclear thermal engines aren't for launching from Earth's surface, they are for cruising long distances through space and maneuvering a lot while keeping closer to Earth. The moon is 240,000 miles from Earth. Most man-made satellites orbit at no more than a few thousand miles from Earth's surface. The United States and China are both in scramble to fill the gap. Beijing in 2019 landed humanity's first ever probe on the moon's difficult-to-reach far side, which always faces away from the Earth. Which I covered that too, which is crazy. I think I talked about it months ago, and the videos on YouTube is called Dark Side of the Moon. It says now the Chinese Space Agency is working on following on moon missions and could even send human explorers to the lunar surface as early as the mid-2020s. NASA, meanwhile, has, at the urging of President Donald Trump, tried to accelerate a potential $30 billion plan to build a new manned station in cislunar space that would function as a staging base for the U.S. astronauts to return to the moon by 2024. The theoretical final full year of a possible second term for Trump. Comet rockets could support America's new moon push. You launch a piece of reactor into the Earth orbit on top of traditional chemical rockets and then assemble them while they're zooming thousands of miles per hour around the planet. Attach a nuclear motor to space capsule, space satellite, or orbital weapon, and you could travel huge distances over a span of years or even decades. It was long-distance potential that motivated early American efforts to build a nuclear thermal propulsion system back in the 1960s and 70s. NASA was making progress when President Richard Nixon abruptly canceled a bunch of rocket programs in order to focus on the space agency and arguably less ambitious missions. So I'm not going to go into the whole history of the space station here. All right, this article, I'm having to look up here and read from here, so you guys have to bear with me. It sucks. It really sucks. I can't. My display's totaled. So, this says breaking: man accused of trying to blow up car in Pentagon parking lot. So this is crazy. It's a 19-year-old man from Arkansas has been charged with trying to blow up the car in the Pentagon's parking lot on Monday. It says the charges announced Tuesday afternoon follow an extensive search yesterday involving numerous law enforcement agencies, including Arlington County Police, that resulted in a man being arrested in Arlington National Cemetery. Federal prosecutors say the suspect, Matthew Richardson, tried to blow up a Land Rover parked at the Pentagon North parking lot by sticking a piece of fabric in the gas tank and lighting it on fire. The vehicle did not explode, and the suspect took off running after being confronted by a Pentagon police officer. Yeah, this guy's not intelligent at all. It says, after Arkansas man will make his initial appearance in federal court at 2 p.m. today on charges relating to his alleged attempt at blowing up a vehicle at the Pentagon yesterday. So, just want to point this out because this guy's not very intelligent whatsoever. All right, this article I posted on Twitter. I believe Sky reposted this or retweeted this. It's Arctic Doomsday Vault stocks up on 60,000 more food seeds. So I'm gonna try to play. After, if I can make it completely through this, I'm gonna try to play the CDC conference meeting from earlier. Reefer and I were listening to it at the same time, so I'm gonna try to play that earlier. Everyone needs to hear it because it seems like there's whoever was on the phone was starting to be honest, more honest than most of the information that's coming out right now. So hopefully I will be able to play it. I don't know how it's gonna go with the streams. We'll just have to see. But I thought this was interesting because it says Arctic Doomsday Vault stocks up on 60,000 more food seeds. So it says a Doomsday Vault nestled deep in the Arctic received 60,000 new seed samples on Tuesday, including Prince Charles, cowslips, and Cherokee sacred corn, increasing the stocks of the world's agricultural bounty in case of a global catastrophe. It says mounting concern over the climate change and species loss is driving groups worldwide to add their seeds to the collection inside the mountain near, what is that, Longyearbyen on, I don't know, it's in Norway. So it says that it's called, quote, Noah's Ark. It's the Noah's Ark of food crops. It's set to preserve plants that can feed a growing population facing climate change. At the pace of climate change and biodiversity loss increases, there's a new urgency surrounding efforts to save food crops at risk of extinction, said Stephanie Schmidt, who manages the reserve as head of the Crop Trust. So, the large scope of today's seed deposit reflects worldwide concern about the impacts of a climate change of biodiversity loss of food production, Schmidt, whatever this lady's name is said. I'm not good at pronouncing names, apparently. I think they're, yeah, that's what we call a clue for sure. Now, this is absolutely, I may go here and switch in between here. This is absolutely crazy, guys. So I've covered the dengue fever before last year, and now it seems like this person has got tested positive for the coronavirus and the dengue fever. This is not, it's not good for this person. Absolutely not good for this person. So this says a woman who was hospitalized with suspected dengue fever has tested positive for the deadly COVID-19 coronavirus as well. Dengue fever, sometimes called break bone fever because of the intense muscle and joint pains it causes, has for centuries been thought to be transmitted by mosquito bites. There have, however, been signs in recent that the viral disease can also be sexually transmitted. The unnamed 57-year-old woman who first admitted to hospital for dengue fever, but medics were puzzled by the fact that she also had respiratory problems not associated with dengue fever. Subsequent tests revealed she was also infected with COVID-19 virus. It's not bueno. It says the woman is now quarantined at Singapore's Ng Ting Fong General Hospital. As a result, all the patients who stayed at the same ward with the woman while she was being treated for dengue fever are now quarantined at Ng Ting Fong General Hospital in Singapore. So, dengue fever has a mortality rate of between 1% and 20%, depending on the severity when diagnosed. While the coronavirus currently in China has a mortality rate of only 2%. I feel bad for this person. So it goes on to say, according to the local media, the woman visited the hospital on February 13th of 2015, after which she was admitted to general ward for treatment of the dengue fever. Only after she started to develop respiratory symptoms, she tested for COVID-19, and the test results confirmed the suspicion. She also has transferred into an isolation ward. So, I'm telling you right now, if it weren't for me mirroring this screen over in OBS, I wouldn't know what's going on right now. All right, this article is called "The Extreme Panic the Coronavirus is Causing Elsewhere on the Globe Could Soon Be Coming to the U.S." Yeah, I'll try to play what Reefer and I watched earlier. It's pretty crazy. So the U.S. government officials are doing their best to keep the general population calm, but everyone can see what is happening in the rest of the world. There are now empty store shelves in Italy, just like they were in China. People are waiting in extremely long lines to buy masks in South Korea, just like we saw in Hong Kong. And victims are literally collapsing in the public in Iran. Hang on just a second. I may have to go this route. So it says, and victims are literally collapsing in public in Iran, just like we witnessed in Wuhan. This coronavirus outbreak is rapidly becoming a true global pandemic. Let me get situated here. A true global pandemic, and the panic that is caused on Wall Street results in a 1,031 point drop for the Dow Jones Industrial Average on Monday. Fears rising all over the planet, and many believe that this is a matter of time before the same things are happening elsewhere start happening here. Originally, 99% of the confirmed cases were in China, but now the rest of the globe is starting to catch up. In fact, the number of confirmed cases outside of China has gotten more than 10 times larger over the past 3 weeks. If we continue to see that sort of exponential growth, we will soon be facing a nightmare of epic proportions. In Italy, the number of confirmed cases went from a handful of 2 to 229 in just a matter of days. Authorities are desperate to stop this sudden outbreak, and so at this point, much of northern Italy is being shut down. Checkpoints block entry to a dozen towns across northern Italy. Milan's landmark cathedral and opera house lie empty. Venice's carnival was ordered close 2 days early, and schools are shuttered. Soccer matches called off. Oh, the news gets worse. Realizing that we may have to stay home for an extended period of time, many northern Italy have been quote panic buying food. Yes, it does. That's how I connect the laptop to. I have a 50-inch screen here. I split off, so I run chat over here and I run OBS over here. And if I weren't be able to mirror this screen down here, then I wouldn't know what the hell is going on. But yes, I run HDMI port. That's the only way I'm able to do this right now. It says people in several regions of Italy have, but see, when doing this, because the camera's here and we look down here and then up here, I have to look up here and down here, so it sucks. People in several regions of Italy have reached to coronavirus spreading throughout the country by panic buying, leaving some store shelves empty. With 165 people infected, Italy has the most coronavirus victims out of the country in Europe. 5 people have died. Footage out of Milan shot yesterday shows some products almost or entirely out of stock. Once this coronavirus starts spreading rapidly inside the United States, the same thing will start happening here, and you better believe that is what's going to happen here. Dude, people, look. It's like here in Oklahoma. I'm just going to tell you this because we have tornadoes constantly here, and people they will run to the store very last minute to get any supplies that they need in order to survive through a snowstorm, tornado, anything like that. We will always wait till last minute. So, I've been telling everybody, stock up on your masks. Just get your bare essentials that you can help to kind of take precautions before this gets here. But a lot of people around me don't want to listen, so we're going to see what happens. We got to get a few more things here, but yeah, 6 dead in Italy now. The numbers are jumping. I got an article. There's quarantine over in Long Island, so it's not good. The article goes on to say, so you might want to take this opportunity to stock up on the things you will need while you still can. In South Korea, the number of confirmed cases has now risen to 833, and the national government has raised the alert level to the highest possible level. Meanwhile, South Korea reported another spike in the coronavirus cases on Monday, bringing the total to 833 cases with 7 deaths. South Korea President Moon Jae-in has raised the national alert level to the virus, quote, highest, the first time the country has done so in 11 years. Just like we have seen elsewhere in Asia, demand for face masks is off the charts. In fact, at one South Korean store where there's literally hundreds of people lined up around the block to buy masks, which I showed that yesterday. I showed the video, the drone footage of this, and I showed the pictures of this. People are lined up everywhere to get masks right now. Don't want to be stuck in a situation like that, standing alongside potential contaminated individuals as well. That won't be good. Then you get your mask, and then it doesn't matter if you got your mask because, you're pretty much going to be sick. So it goes on to say, here in the U.S., there will come a point where masks are not available for the general public at all if this outbreak gets bad enough. Now, what I'm going to say about this, not that I like Chuck Schumer or a lot of people in the Democratic Party, but Chuck Schumer was strictly warning about what if something happens like this, that we are ill prepared for this, that we don't have enough masks even for medical personnel in this country, let alone private use. So you will see masks go to medical personnel before it goes to any personal. Yes, work in some dried beans and rice so often they'll never notice. Ain't nothing to stock. Dude, I told everybody today close to me, we need to get beans and rice. We need to get those types of things because it'll probably hit epic proportions here in this country. And I don't want everyone here saying, I don't want to be the jerk about it, telling everybody, I told you so, when I've given you month in advance warnings, weeks in advance warnings, and now we're at this point to where it's literally knocking at our door. So if you can, right? If you can. By the way, silver is down to $18 an ounce. So silver's gone down. Gold is down to like $1,600 an ounce, which is crazy. But the stock market is it's obliterated right now. So we'll go on to the rest of this article here. It says, so if you think you may need masks, you should grab them now while you still can. The other day, my wife checked our local Home Depot, and there were only a few left on the shelves, and they are still available in most areas, but supplies are definitely getting tighter. In Iran, it is being claimed that infected people are literally collapsing in the streets, and one Iranian politician is saying the true death toll is far higher than the government is reporting. By the way, I had the article coming up, and I think a video attached to it, but the health minister of Iran has contracted the coronavirus, which is not bueno. So that's not good. I think I have it. I'll show it to you guys later when I get to the rest of the stuff here. Goodness, come on. Technical difficulty so bad today. So apparently the feed went down. So apparently the feed just went down, guys. That's what that was. It says one expert in infectious disease has suggested the country could become a, quote, hotspot for, quote, seeding countries outside of Iran with the virus. Officially known COVID-19, the Iranian government this morning put out a total of deaths for the entire country at 12. But Ahmed Amirbadi Farhani, a parliamentary representative for the city of Qom, insisted the true figures was many times higher. The semi-official ILNA news agency reported Mr. Farhani as saying, quote, up until last night, around 50 people died from coronavirus. The health minister is to blame. So, the health minister is to blame. But, as the health minister is to blame, it seems as if the health minister has contracted the virus as well. So, thank you. I appreciate it, Sky. This sucks, man. All right, so I've said we said this before that it's possible it came from a plant, and now it's coming out. This article says DHS deputy chief won't rule out theory that coronavirus was created in Chinese lab. So, which, you know, we grabbed a hold of that article when it first came out, and although it was speculation at the time, it ends up that it was quite possibly correct. Keep looking here. So, Ken Cuccinelli, the acting deputy secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, could not definitely rule out the theory that the coronavirus was created in a laboratory. Cuccinelli, who serves on top member of Trump's administration, coronavirus task force, said Monday that the origins of the novel virus remain unknown, and while the characteristics suggest it isn't man-made, he could not completely reject the theory that it was created in a laboratory in China's Hubei province. Our colleagues at CDC, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and the NIH on the task force have made it very clear that we don't yet know the origin of the particular virus. Cuccinelli told Fox News medical correspondent Dr. Mark Siegel on Tucker Carlson tonight. We are not entirely sure how this one started yet. Cuccinelli continued, there's a biological facility in the Hubei province that people worry about, but I always say the reading that I have done of medical professionals suggests the structure of this virus seems unlikely to have been man-made, because if it was made to be a threat, you would expect to see certain characteristics that aren't present. A rescue worker wearing a protective suit. That's what this is here. So, yeah, it's definitely gonna get here. So this article is, this gigantic Neptune-sized exoplanet is incredibly close. The article says a team of astronomers at Penn State just confirmed the existence of G940b, a gigantic super-Earth only about 90 light years from Earth, making it one of the closest known exoplanets. The exoplanet is at least twice as massive as Earth and may even be as large as Neptune. It was first spotted by NASA's planet-hunting space telescope, Kepler, during its K2 mission in 2019. So the team used a Habitable Zone Planet Finder, HPF, a low-mass planet-hunting instrument attached to the 10-meter Hobby Eberly telescope at the McDonald Observatory in Texas. But this particular planet isn't very habitable. Its surface experiences scorching temperatures of over 3,100 degrees Celsius or 5,600 degrees Fahrenheit. Hot, but still substantially cooler than the sun. So the fact that it is only about 90 light years away means it is, quote, among the 20 closest transiting planetary systems known, and is currently the second closest transiting planet discovered by the K2 mission to date. So, I want to point that out. Apparently, we have a Neptune. Let me see if there's a picture of this. I don't know if there is. No. But apparently, we have a planet here close to us. Well, closer to us, a Neptune-sized planet. This is crazy. I've already talked about Elon Musk and I think Lockheed were going to be taking bids on working with the Space Force. Well, apparently it looks like Elon Musk is already somewhat working with the Space Force. So I think it's pretty crazy, but I told you it was going to be SpaceX or it was going to be Lockheed, and because of Elon Musk work already launching satellites in and out of here for other countries, it looks like it's probably most definitely going to be Elon Musk and SpaceX doing the work for the government. So the article says Space Force general working pretty close with Elon Musk. As the Space Force evolved for Vangu Trumpian thought to be full-fledged branch of the U.S. military, questions surfaced about what exactly it would do and how it would differ from NASA and the Air Force's ongoing work in orbit. Lieutenant General David Thompson, the Space Force's second in command, sat down with Jen to clarify exactly what it does, revealing the agency's goals, the scope of its operations, and that it's already collaborating with SpaceX and Blue Origin. So in addition to scanning for hostile missile launches and over other surveillance missions, the Space Force is already responsible for maintaining communication, GPS, and military satellites. Mainly, Thompson pressed back against the idea that launching a Space Force would be anything like, quote, Star Trek or, quote, Star Wars, and the uniforms won't be the spandex or have capes, he told Jen, nor does it expect to fight battles on the moon or Mars anytime soon. Rather, Thompson told Jen the Space Force exists because we have to ensure space capabilities are there for folks on the ground. So it looks like Elon Musk is going to be getting his wish for working with the Space Force. Reefer says they're the only agency with a government-approved crew captain. Yep. All right, so this has to do with one that's in. And look, I'm going to cover coronavirus. I'm going to go back and forth. So I'm not doing this in any order. It's kind of all over the place. So just bear with me too. I can't organize anything. It would take me hours now to do this. Amazon opens its first full-size cashless Go grocery store. This I think is crazy, but this is where we're headed, so don't be too surprised. A few years ago, Amazon opened its first cashless Go convenience store, and in the time since, Amazon Go stores have expanded to 24 other locations throughout the country. But now Amazon is trying to take its cashless stores big time with the official launch of its first Amazon Go grocery store. Situated on the edge of downtown Seattle, of course, hipster central, in a space that takes up 10,400 square feet with 7,700 square feet of dedicated shopping space. The new Amazon Go grocery dwarfs all Amazon's previous cashless stores, which ranged from as small as 450 square feet to just over 2,000 square feet. However, it seems size wasn't Amazon's biggest challenge when making its first cashless grocery store, but rather the number and more importantly, the variety of items available for sale. All right. It says that's because unlike a typical Amazon store, which functions more like a typical bodega or convenience store and stocks mostly prepackaged goods like chips and bottled drinks, Amazon's Go Grocery needs to accurately track the purchases of foods that are trickier to track, like fresh produce, no matter how many lemons or heirloom tomatoes you pick up and inspect before actually putting one in your cart. To that end, like other Go stores, the Go Grocery still has phone, while a vast array of camera and sensors installed in the ceiling of the store tracks you as what you grab and what you grab, but there's some extra tweaking involved that allows people to pick up the best produce and put certain items back, potentially in a slightly different spot than it was picked up from, without inaccurately adding something to someone's tab. And it says, all told, Amazon says its Go Grocery store contains 5,000 unique items, comprised of a mix of major brand name items, organic produce, and other staples, with many sourced from Amazon's subsidiary Whole Foods. So you can look forward to eventually that coming everywhere, because it will. I don't know if it'll ever make it here in the South, but chances are it might. It'll probably make it to Tulsa. All right, this I think is hilarious because if you watched yesterday, I read an article. Hey, what's up, One Flung? I read an article about this. I'm having a look over here. I'm having computer problems, One Flug. So if you're wondering what I'm looking up and reading OBS because it mirrors this computer that just broke today. So that's what I'm trying to do. So I read an article yesterday that said the Five Eyes wanted to establish a facial recognition software between the UK and the United States. So it's looking like that this propaganda article already, the one yesterday already trumps this article because this article is hilarious. It says the Pentagon promises to use artificial intelligence for good, not evil, which I think is hilarious because they're going to use it for nefarious activities irregardless. If they're using Clearview app and also Amazon's facial recognition software, and Amazon doesn't know how many police departments have it, you can bet your bottom dollar that they're going to use it for something nefarious. I guarantee it. So, it says the military has its eye on artificial intelligence solutions to everything from data analysis to surveillance maintenance and medical care. But before the Defense Department moves full steam ahead into an AI future, they're laying out some ethical principles to live by. Defense Secretary Mark Esper signed off on 5 guidelines in a memo released on Monday. The United States, together with our allies and partners, must accelerate the adoption of AI and lead its national security applications to maintain our strategic position, prevail on future battlefields, and safeguard the rules-based international order, said Esper wrote. AI technology will change much about the battlefield of the future, but nothing will change America's steadfast commitment to responsible and lawful behavior. The list is a result of a 15-month study by the Defense Innovation Board, which is made up of academics and executives in tech and business who presented their proposed principles in a public forum at Georgetown University in October. Yeah, my phone's going through the same crap over here. I don't know what's going on. I think DLive's having issues. I'm not sure. It said, in short, any technology development and operation should be carefully developed and used, have safeguards against bias in data analysis, and audible to find the sources of mistake and correct them, have narrowly defined the perimeters for use, and have backup plans for shutdown in case something goes wrong. We owe it to the American people and our men and women in uniform to adopt AI principles that reflect our nation's values of a free and open society. Lieutenant General Jack Shanahan, head of the Joint Artificial Intelligence Center, told reporters on Monday. This runs in stark contrast to Russia and China, whose use of AI tech for military purposes raised serious concerns about human rights, ethics, and international norms. China, for example, has used its facial recognition artificial intelligence technology to surveil its citizens' public activity. So take that with a grain of salt, because I guarantee they're going to end up using it for nefarious things. You could probably bet on that. Oh man, we're making it. We're limping ahead, but we're making it. I'm just going to show you the headline of this article. You guys probably seen this. But 7 killed in New Delhi protest ahead of Trump's visit. So they were going ham over in New Delhi, and 7 people have died because of this. And if you look here, it says, I'll read a little bit of this. It says, an angry group of Hindus carrying pickaxes and iron rods hurled rocks Tuesday at Muslims in a fresh round of violent protests in the Indian capital over new citizenship law, with at least 10 people killed in 2 days of clashes that cast a shadow over U.S. President Donald Trump's visit to the country. After talks with the Indian Prime Minister Modi, Trump told reporters that he had heard about the violence but did not discuss it with Modi. So, everybody can get ready for that one. It's just panic everywhere. All right, this says coronavirus update, 80,238 cases, 2,700 deaths. CDC warns Americans to prepare for disruption. So, I don't think you should prepare. I don't know what to tell you, but you should probably prepare for this. Right, it says an official at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on Tuesday said Americans should prepare for COVID-19 to spread in their communities and cause disruption after Iran, Italy, and South Korea reported a rapid uptick in the number of people who have been sickened. We really want to prepare the American public for the possibility that their lives will be disrupted because of this pandemic. Okay, so this is what this woman from the CDC is saying. That last part there, where this is Messner. She's in pretty much every CDC article that we read, and she right there is calling it because of this pandemic. So it may have slipped that she said because of this pandemic. I don't know, but it's most certainly looking like we are headed in a pandemic. They sure like to throw rocks over there. Why isn't there any Middle East pitchers in MLB? It's a good question. So, it says that uptick causes the novel coronavirus over the weekend, and those 3 countries sent markets into a tailspin on Monday over concerns that the virus, which until now has been largely contained in China, would turn into a pandemic. Also, of Tuesday, the outbreak has still primarily impacted China, which has reported nearly 99% of the deaths and 97% of cases. Messner said that Americans should talk to their children's schools about contingency education and child care plans and teleworking options at work if community spread is reported in the U.S. Dude, this is a summary of what I'm going to play after this. So far, we're doing all right. All right. But all right, Reefer. So if she's saying this, if Messner is saying this, you should probably take those precautions as well. She's from the CDC, so you should probably take those precautions into consideration whenever you're making preparations for this or gathering stuff. You should probably take this into consideration, what she's saying. She's pretty spot on. So it goes on to say, it says, when asked by a reporter on a conference call if her tone changed compared to previous calls, Messner said, the data over the last week and the spread in other countries has certainly raised our level of concern and raised our level of expectation that we are going to have a community spread here. That's why we are asking folks in every sector, as well as within their families, to start planning for this. The number of worldwide cases of COVID-19 continues to rise, and there are now 80,238 cases in 34 countries and at least 2,700 deaths, according to the World Health Organization. It says, while the number of new daily cases in China is waning, the number of new nations to report cases is rising, as are the total cases in South Korea, which have soared with 977 sick and 10 dead. The government there on Tuesday announced a series of initiatives aimed at stemming the outbreak, including raising its infectious disease alert to the highest level and forbidding entry into the country from Hubei province and Wuhan, the city in Hubei where the virus was first detected in December. The State Department on Saturday raised the travel warning levels for Japan and South Korea to a level 2 warning, which urges people to exercise caution before traveling to those countries. It has raised Hong Kong to level 2 warning. On February 20th, China has a level 4 warning, and the State Department is telling Americans not to travel to China right now. Yeah, you better not. Italy is now reporting a number of infection clusters, primarily in northern Italy, with 227 sick and 6 dead. It says cases are largely mild. However, WHO officials said Monday that, quote, the rapid increase in reported cases in Italy over the past 2 days is of concern, particularly given the likely instances of human-human transmission of the virus. Italy has closed schools and bars and canceled, it's funny how they put bars in there, and canceled mass gatherings such as sporting events in the regions where the cases have been reported. Iran has 61 cases and 12 deaths. In the U.S., there are now 57 cases, driven by an uptick in positive tests among those individuals who have repatriated from the Diamond Princess cruise ship in Yokohama, Japan. Kuwait is now one of the newest nations to report a case, and now with a total of 8 cases according to Reuters. Austria, Spain, and Switzerland have also confirmed their first cases. Croatia's health ministry confirmed its first case. President Donald Trump has tweeted Monday that the virus is, quote, very much under control in the U.S. The coronavirus is very much under control in the U.S., and we are in contact with everyone and all relevant countries. CDC and World Health have been working hard and very smart. Stock market started to look very good to me, which that is total bull about him saying any of that. Stock market is not looking good whatsoever. So that's a farce for him to say something like that. Hey, look, I watched, and I tried to stream it earlier, and if you guys want to catch it, I streamed it earlier on here. But it is it's not the World Health Organization, not the CDC, it's the Human Health Organization. I don't know. They're saying it's contained here in the U.S. They've been saying all this stuff. What they said and what the CDC said is a total contradiction of each other. You can tell the information is wrong because nobody knows what to tell everybody. That's pretty much where we're at. No one knows what to say to anybody. So we're pretty much just we're guessing right now. Trump, that tweet Trump said is not correct whatsoever. So this article says Lyndhurst High School students return from trip to Italy with flu-like symptoms. A group of students from Lindenhurst High School are sick after they traveled to Italy during winter break. School district officials say the students are showing symptoms that indicate the flu, norovirus, or possibly salmonella. So the trip included stops in Rome, Venice, and Florence, which are not on the list of towns in Italy currently under quarantine due to the coronavirus surge in the country. In a letter posted to the district website, Superintendent Daniel Giordano says nurses have been in touch with the county health officials, and that agency have expressed confidence that the gastric symptoms being displayed by our students are more aligned with a diagnosis of norovirus, flu, or possibly salmonella, and are in no way reflective of the respiratory symptoms or symptoms of pneumonia which accompany a coronavirus. So I'm going to watch this. They may be telling us the truth on that one, but I'm going to continue to watch it because you never know. Yeah, it seems like everyone in this country is pretty much in a panic now because what Trump says is not coinciding with what the CDC says, not coinciding with what the World Health Organization says, is not coinciding with what the other group of health individuals are saying, which they should be doing a conference every day. It's none of their information is on the same page. That's how I think they're full of crap. I'm not going to read that article, but it's video of bulldozer dragging Palestinian dragging Palestinians' body in Gaza sparks global outrage. So I'm not going to read that one. Pretty hardcore. So, this article here, yeah, I believe it's what you guys are saying over there in the chat. This article here says, MSNBC's Katie Tur suggests FBI should track down young white men and give them bomb-making materials to entrap them. But here's the thing, she won't, no repercussions for her. So it says, MSNBC's Katie Tur suggested the FBI should be tracking young white men online and teaching them, quote, how to build a bomb and how to get the materials in order to arrest them. This is ridiculous. Remember when the left called it Islamophobic for the FBI to radicalize and entrap potential terrorists? Now we're calling for the same thing, only for white people. That's Paul Joseph Watson's tweet there. Yes. And that's what I was going to point out to Salvation Nation. The FBI has already been busted doing this. So I was going to point out this radicalized libertarian here on MSNBC says that we need to track down white men and teach them how to build bombs, how to get the materials, and then pretty much get them sent off to jail. This lady is absolutely insane to even make a suggestion like this, but probably won't get in any trouble for saying it because she aligns herself with a liberal ideology, where the rest of us, if we aligned ourselves with this, conservative saying this type of stuff, we would definitely get a visit from the fuss. So, lady's nuts. All right, this article says Netanyahu threatened all-out war after 90 rockets fired from Gaza. This is from Zero Hedge. It says Monday witnessed significant escalation over Gaza and Palestinian Islamic Jihad sought to avenge the deaths of 3 commanders killed in Israeli airstrikes on Gaza and Damascus the day before. Israeli media counted some 90 total rockets fired at Israel from Gaza Strip, and throughout the day since the attacks began Sunday night, with the IDF claiming its Iron Dome defense system had intercepted the vast majority, which came near populated areas. If you guys don't know this, I haven't seen anyone else cover it, but now they're saying now, I don't know if they've rolled it out, but Israel actually has a upgrade to the Iron Dome system that uses lasers. So I don't know if they've rolled it out yet, but they do have something like, I've read the article before on here. I think it's nuts, but wait till they start using that. It's going to be like lasers shooting all over the sky. As Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had earlier threatened to initiate border war if the rocket fire didn't cease, and despite an Islamic Jihad spokesman announcing a unilateral ceasefire by early evening, the rocket fire was reported as continuing later into the night Monday. We are now hitting with planes, tanks, and helicopters, Netanyahu said while inspecting an Iron Dome unit in the south. I'm talking about a war. Netanyahu, who is entering a final week of campaign before the Israeli national elections, had further told Israel's army radio station, quote, "I only go to war as a last option. But we have prepared something you can't even imagine." He also appeared to threaten to kill the heads of Hamas and the Islamic Jihad if the rockets continued, saying, quote, "We will continue to strike until the calm returns. If there isn't quiet, you will be next." Some 30 rockets are initially fired out of the Gaza Strip on Sunday night and continue to escalate through Monday. So, I'm going to watch this. To me, it seems Netanyahu talks a lot more than he actually does anything. I mean, he might go at it with these people, but I don't think he will. This article says Red Gold, China's stealth plan to use precious metals for world domination. This is also from Zero Hedge. This is during after World War II, every major developed country amassed as much physical gold as they could. It stabilized currencies and signaled independence. But with this in a global standard in 1971, most countries began to sell their reserves. So much so that in 1999, an agreement was formed to limit the amount of gold that central banks could sell. Fast forward to today, and Canada's central bank owns zero gold. Despite the agreement, most countries continue to shed their gold reserves as fast as possible. That is until a few years ago, when a handful of countries reserved course. Central banks started buying gold with fury, and they haven't let up since. In the final quarter of 2018, central banks purchased more gold than any other quarter on record. By the end of the year, central banks collectively held about 1.64 billion ounces of gold, equivalent to 33,200 tons. That's about 1/5 of the gold ever mined. In the first half of 2019, central banks purchased 11.97 million ounces of gold, that's 374 tons, and once again that was far more than ever before. And it's an equivalent to 1/6 of total gold demand in that period. And total central bank purchase for 2019 were the second highest they've been in the last 50 years, 2018 being the first. And the Kaiser Soze of gold is Vladimir Putin. We've been very quiet about Russia and Putin the last few years, as I've been swamped with the media requests following the source of my New York Times bestseller, blah, blah, blah. Don't underestimate what the Russians are doing, as others are starting to follow. While the world focuses on China, Russia has positioned itself in the center of the global political chessboard. Here's what's interesting about the recent central bank gold purchases, and the vast majority of the unprecedented purchasing came from just 4 countries. These are places you'd never expect. One of those countries is Kazakhstan, whose GDP is smaller than Kansas's. Kazakhstan grew their reserves from 2.4 million ounces, or 75 tons, in 2011 to 12 million ounces, 375 tons in 2020, a 400% increase. Turkey moved far faster. In 2017, they had 3.71 million ounces, 116 tons, and now they have 12.32 million ounces, or 385 tons of gold. That's a 232% increase in just the last 2 years. In 2018 alone, Russia bought 8.78 million ounces, and that's the most it's ever purchased in 1 year, and fourth year above 6.4 million, 200 tons, ounces of gold. For the references, that's $15.7 billion worth of gold. Putin is undertaking what gold is, a de-dollarization, aware of sanctions from the United States. Russia is positioning itself to not be dependent on the U.S. dollar holdings. So the central bank in Russia has sold nearly all the U.S. Treasury notes, and it's used the proceeds to buy gold. Like I said, the Kaiser Soze of gold is Vladimir Putin. Pay attention to the world's master strategist, and this is very bullish for gold. You might be wondering why Russia doesn't buy a yielding investment with cash. The problem is the other reserve currencies like the euro or the yen are extraordinarily weak against the dollar, and Putin knows this will continue. Oh my gosh. So with the Wu flu, the coronavirus now having infected more people than SARS did in 2003, will China continue the gold purchases? China stockpiled huge amounts of gold every single month last year. You're probably wondering why. Well, you've probably heard the saying, he who has the gold makes the rules. Xi Jinping, president of China, agrees with Putin's strategy, and Wu flu no doubt has sidetracked China, and here in the near term, but it has been proven that gold insurance strategy is a very wise one. Chinese elite are aware of their aging demographics as high debt loads. Gold will be valued to potentially backstop any shortfalls without being overly dependent on their foreign exchange reserves. Anyways, just if you don't know, I'm not going to read that. China's been hoarding gold for eons, so is Russia. That's pretty much what the article's about. It's hard for me to look up like that and continue to freaking read looking up at this monitor. So sorry for that. I still have more crap I got to go through here. Sucks. Now this is crazy, and regardless of their origin, who they are, any of those types of things, this is so whether they did this or somebody did this and said that they did it by themselves, I'm still praying for rest. This person I hope is resting in peace, and their family and stuff are okay. But this is absolutely crazy. So South Korea's crisis response coordinator commits suicide as cases near 1,000 deaths hit 11. This is in South Korea, and you saw the numbers shoot up, and now after that shot up, all these people are, this person is allegedly committed suicide, and I guess they just can't take it. So they're either dying from exhaustion from taking care of people, or they're being killed, or like this article said, this person has committed suicide. Go this route here. Says, as South Korea confirms another 144 cases during the day on Tuesday to bring the countrywide total to 977, the small East Asian nation has become home to the largest outbreak outside of China. The country's death toll also climbed to 11, the second highest death toll outside the mainland after only Iran. It says on Tuesday, President Moon Jae-in traveled to Daegu, the city where more than half the country's cases have been detected. and pledged to avoid the draconian restrictions Chinese authorities implemented in Wuhan and across Hubei. Though he also advised residents to stay indoors, his comments were accompanied by a warning from the South Korean government advising foreigners to put off travel to the country. It might be all of the above. Perfect storm. Okay. However, Moon's bold promises were somewhat blunted by the fact that the government has implemented a containment policy on Daegu, North Gyeongsang province, according to a party official cited by Yonhap. Other reports claim South Korea is in the process of drafting supplemental budget, while Moon has declared Daegu as, quote, special disaster zone. As Daegu sinks into isolation, Korean Airlines and Asia Airlines announced they would suspend domestic flights to the city until next month. A Singaporean government minister warned that the city-state could impose sweeping travel restrictions targeting South Korea if the outbreak gets worse. Korean Air also said it's working with government health authorities to prevent the spread of the virus after a crew member fell sick. But in Seoul, took on a more morbid tone Tuesday following reports of local press that a civil servant from the ministry's Justice Emergency Safety Planning Office jumped off a bridge in Seoul at around 5 a.m. local time on Tuesday. The official is one of several individuals charged with overseeing the government's response to the virus as case soared and hysteria mounts. We suspect this news won't exactly help quiet the public's nerves. So, like I said, pray for that individual because it is very sad that this is happening. So this article says, on a long enough timeline, the survival rate for everyone drops to 0. It says now is the time for businesses, hospitals, and communities and schools to begin preparing to respond to the coronavirus. I don't know why it's not translating over. Oh well, there's nothing I can do about this, but there's this article too. The article says, we can't stop this. Japan rolls out new harm reduction policy aimed at limiting virus-related deaths. Overwhelmed by a flurry of unsolved cases, that is, cases with no obvious connection to the outbreak in China or elsewhere, or anywhere else, Japanese health authorities have announced on Tuesday a new plan intended to focus the country's precious medical resources on the most serious cases while advising those with mild symptoms to treat themselves at home. The approach differs markedly from the heavy-handed tactics employed by Beijing, which at its peak had 760 million, roughly half the country, under some form of lockdown restriction. According to the Washington Post, the basic premise of the Japanese plan is that the virus can't be stopped, and that's right. The Japanese are essentially acknowledging that the thesis proposed by Harvard epidemiologist Mark Lipsitch, i.e. that 70% of the world's population might someday contract the virus, has at least some legitimacy. Japan has at least 160 confirmed cases in the virus outside the 700 people who caught aboard the Diamond Princess. Japanese health officials claim that the large-scale outbreak hasn't taken hold. Rather, small clusters of the disease have broken out around the country. Oh, you're exactly right. I remember. Yep, you're exactly right. Says one senior advisor who spoke with WAPO, put it in the starkest of terms. We can't stop it, so the best we can do is to keep the body count as low as possible. We shouldn't have illusions, said Shigeru Omi, a senior government advisor. We can't stop this, but we can try to reduce the speed of expansion and reduce mortality. In keeping with the maximum hospital space will be preserved for patients with the most serious symptoms, while those with simple colds and fevers have been asked to rest at home. They are only to contact health authorities and a fever persists for 4 days, or 2, or the elderly, people with chronic disease, or pregnant women. Companies have been asked to promote flexible work schedules to lessen dynamic crowds aboard Tokyo's mass transit, and citizens have also been advised to, quote, limit face-to-face conversations, avoid crowds and drinking sessions, and wash their hands if they touch straps while commuting on the train. Though the government didn't explicitly ban large events, it asked organizers to consider whether their event is really that necessary. So, it's definitely spreading everywhere and getting out of hand. So here's one. I won't read the entirety of the article, but this one says GE cut 78,000 workers in 2019 amid stability efforts to thwart bankruptcy. So in this article, basically General Electric is going bankrupt, and they're going to cut a whole bunch of jobs from that. So I don't know. It's getting crazy. We've already covered in other articles the Dow. South Korea crisis response coordinator. We covered that. So that is pretty much what I have left. I'll leave the phone lines open for a minute. If anyone wants to call in, the number's scrolling across the bottom of the screen here. 140-863-80968. The meeting ID is 534-233-4758. I will also be uploading this to YouTube. It's going to be horribly crappy because of the issues with the computer. But if you're on here now, go ahead and stick around, because I'm going to play a video that Reefer and I watched earlier, and then I'll play the video that Now My Child Sky shared also in the chat. I have both of those locked in. So, just bear with me on that. I'll try to get it set up. Just stay in the chat. I'll shut it off here from recording, and then I'll just continue to stream on after that. So I appreciate you guys sticking around. Sorry for all the technical difficulties. Like I said, I can't see anything. It's just and reading up here is like hurts my face to continue to look up like this and read what's going on. I appreciate you guys if you stuck around and listen. I'll keep this going for a little bit longer. Yeah, go ahead and send it over, Sky. That'd be awesome. So when you see me do my bump out, where the static's the whole thing, that means I'm fixing to shut the recording down, and then we'll go into just streaming this information that's coming out. Once again, thank you guys for your donations today. Thank you for bearing with me through this. I got to figure something out. I don't necessarily have the finances to take care of this issue. I'm gonna have to figure something else out here, but I appreciate it, you guys. Like I said, when you see me do the bump out, if I don't get any phone calls, then you'll see that thumbnail change right after, and you'll know I'm about to come back. So, oh, you're welcome. So when you see the bump, you know I'm going out.